At the time, it wasn't appreciated immediately the way it is now. Now, most people do consider it a fairly legendary, groundbreaking album. Welcome, my friends, to the final installment of this massive series that I've been doing for months and months, the top 5 albums of my top 100 albums of all time. We have spent a lot of time talking about incredible music leading up to this, but these 5 are the 5 most important and special albums of my lifetime, and I'm excited to share them with you. If you guys know me well, if you've seen this channel, you could probably guess at least 3 or 4 of them. But with that being said, let's dive in and I'll show you which albums are must-listen-tos in the world. If you haven't already, it'd be awesome if you'd like this video, hit the red subscribe button, and turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss out on any weekly videos I put out. Number 5 of Montreal, Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer? This album is psychedelic pop perfection. I don't think any psych pop album will ever be as good as this, possibly in the history of the world. It's manic, it's catchy, but it never falters once in delivering extremely fun grooves and very bizarre, memorable lyrics. This album makes me want to sing and dance no matter where it's on, where I am, and that is a pretty impressive feat. There's so much energy in this record. It's all over the place. This album is simultaneously the best dream you've ever had and the worst nightmare you've ever had. It is just so manic. That's the only way to put it. It just changes the mood, song to song, within its songs. I don't know how to describe this album because it is just so out there, but it's equally accessible. Anyone could appreciate this, whether you're a fan of the band or not. I always thought of Montreal as one of my favorite bands, and I've come to realize that of their 16 studio albums, I only really love 5 of them, and this one is the only one that I think would make this list, and it's obviously very high on the list. I have a billion pressings of this record. This one's on a really cool red and orange starburst. This one here is a Newberry Comics version that's kind of blue with a little black marbling in there. And I also own the picture disc version, which is really cool. And not one I'd spin, but probably one I'd frame someday. This is a good band. This is a fantastic album. Legendary album, I'd say. Make sure you listen if you haven't. Number 4, Sufjan Stevens, Carrie, and Lowell. I can count on one hand the amount of albums that have actually made me cry. This is one of them. You can actually go back on the channel and see the video review I made of this album right after it came out, right after I heard it. You can see in both Sandy's face and my face that we just were definitely crying because this is an emotional album. Every single time that he blesses us with an album, it is a home run, grand slam, touchdown, field goal. Can you tell I'm a sports fan? Carrie and Lowell, while I expected it to be great, defied those expectations. I thought up until this point Sufjan was pretty vulnerable and honest with his songwriting, but Carrie and Lowell takes it to an entirely new level. He opens up about growing up with his bipolar, alcoholic mother, and his stepfather, Lowell, who actually co-runs his label Asthmatic Kitty, which is really cool. Themes of love, loss, and death are prevalent throughout this diary of a record, complete with Sufjan's heavenly vocals and enrapturing guitar work. It's a simple album, a lot like Seven Swans, but it actually has a lot of modern production, which adds a bit of a heavier layer to the simplistic songwriting. This is one of those landmark albums of a decade that I feel like people will revisit for a very long time. This will continue to age like a fine wine, and I picked up, of course, is it any question? I got the clear vinyl pressing, the limited version. Unfortunately, there is no version, black nor clear, that sounds great. They all have a little bit of surface noise, a few pops. Something about the pressing is suboptimal. It doesn't sound bad, but this album needs an audiophile pressing, if any album does. If they made one, I'd pay whatever to own it. Number 3, Kanye West, 808s and Heartbreak. Not only is this album a heavy mood, it is a cohesive work of absolute genius. It is emotionally destructive, but in an uncanny and relatable way. It's also extremely iconic in the sense that it gave birth to an entire generation of artists that were trying to capture the emotions that 808s put out, and largely they failed in doing so in such grand, spectacular fashion. We wouldn't have Kid Cudi or Drake's best stuff without 808s providing the foundation. And the younger class, The Weeknd and Travis Scott, owe their whole careers to this album. Going from Graduation, where he was top of the world, topping the charts, one of his most confident and cocky selves, he fell into a deep depression after breaking off the engagement with Alexis Pfeiffer and his mother passing away. Leaning on the 808 drum machine, heavy synths, and auto-tune to put a robotic, shimmery frame around the pain and sadness in his voice, 808s was born. 808s came out of the gates like nothing the world had ever heard at the time. At the time, it wasn't appreciated immediately the way it is now. Now, most people do consider it a fairly legendary, groundbreaking album. A bona fide classic. Streetlights, a short song towards the end of the record and part of Kanye's Loose Lights saga, where he writes songs about lights a lot, is one of the prettiest songs I have ever heard. It is dreamy, it's emotional, and it just kind of encapsulates why I love this record so much. From the manic paranoid, to the bombastic orchestral Robocop, to the anthemic Heartless. There are so many tracks on this record that are worth your time. All of them, really. And for me, it is my favorite thing Kanye's ever done. It's hard to say because he's done a lot of great things. This is the best sounding Kanye record on wax, which is not saying much because a lot of his albums do unfortunately sound a little mid. That being said, I would love for this to get a really nice pressing, a remaster one day. For now, we just have this when we're feeling like sad boys. Number 2, Tycho, Awake. Tycho does not miss at all, but this album in particular is super flawless. This album is chock full of magical qualities, specifically in the beautiful tones it emits. I remember the first time I saw them live, I assumed it was just a dude with a laptop playing beautiful electronic music, and my brain was blown when I saw it was a full band creating these sounds that I didn't think a full band was capable of creating. Lush doesn't even begin to explain the journey that Awake takes you on, but every time I've listened to this album, I have fallen in love with it again. The warm, pulsing synths create soundscapes that wrap you up in warm nostalgia, taking you back to the happiest times of your life. This album was actually my gateway into my deep love for downtempo electronic music, and if you have not heard it and you're watching this video, maybe it can be the same thing for you as it was for me. I hope so. It's just pure. It's just a pure record. I have the limited version that Ghostly put out when it first came out on beige vinyl. I love that the labels match the beautiful cover that I'm just in love with. I'd actually like to get a tattoo of it one day. It's so nice, so simple, so elegant. I also have, above my door, the purple copy of this record, signed by the band. One of my most prized possessions. Tycho Awake is a must listen and a must own. We are at number 1. The number 1 album of all time, for me. Can you guys guess it? Number 1, The National, Alligator. What is there to say about my favorite album of all time? Poetic, riddle-like lyrics, sung by one of the deepest, crispest, best vocalists of this century, Matt Berninger, while 2 pairs of brothers play drums and guitar swirling around them in the most beautiful fashion. It almost puts the listener into a drunken state. You have your anthemic, high-energy songs like Lit Up and Able, while songs like City Middle and Daughters of the Soho Riots break you right down. And my favorite National song, All the Wine. I could talk about every song on this album with absolute passion and fervor because it is just that. It is a perfect record. It's my perfect record. Unbelievable from the first note to the aggressive, passionate last. I almost don't even want to say more about this. I think if this is number 1 on my list and you like this channel and you don't know this album, you're probably going to go listen to it as soon as this video is done, which is a smart move, and I hope you'll let me know in the comments what you think of it. I have this version signed by Bryce Dessner, one of the guitarists, which was really, really awesome. I got to meet him and it was surreal. But I have the limited green pressing. It's a kind of like a neon green, neon yellow, neon green. I think it could match the cover a little better, but I'm just nitpicking because I care about it so much. I'm hoping one day we get some sort of remaster because the album doesn't sound incredible on vinyl the way it should. It sounds good, but it's not... It doesn't reach that level that it definitely can and should. That being said, anybody own a test pressing I can buy? Alright guys, we've done it. My top 100 albums of all time. If you haven't watched every episode of this, you should go back in the description. I have links to everything we've done so far. If you have watched all these episodes, thank you guys for following me on this journey. This was really personal for me to do. This was hard to write some of the entries on this list. It's hard to accurately talk about music that's so personal to you, and I think I did a pretty okay job. But if you guys like anything on this list, make sure you let me know, whether it's in a comment in the video or you go to my Facebook group, which if you're not a part of it, link to the description below. And I love talking music, especially music that's important to me. So make sure you let me know what you think of my top 100. And if you make videos, make your own top 100 list. I'd love to see what albums are important to you. If you're not subscribed to this channel, you should be. I'm going to be doing a ton of videos this year, a lot of travel videos going to record stores all around the world. You're not going to want to miss it. So stick around. Thank you guys for watching and supporting Too Many Records. More videos soon. Take it easy.